This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous in honor of the third tradition, which states the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. Please confine your sharing to your experience related to the disease of alcoholism. And because this is anniversary night, we have a speaker, and this is Mike Chase. He is so wonderful. Love this man to death. I've known him for a couple years. I've known him in sobriety, not in sobriety, and, he's always been there for me. And he's a great guy, and let's hear what he has to say.
Thanks. Hi, I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Mike Chase.
Hi, Mike Chase.
Got some house cleaning to take care of. First of all, I'd like to thank Aaron for inviting me to come and share. So late at night, I'm usually getting ready for bed pretty soon. My home group is a Fort Lauderdale Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group, and we meet Monday nights, and it's based off of the Primary Purpose Big Book Study style that the Rammers have coming out of Texas. It's studying the book, pretty much every line, every paragraph, talking about it, digging into the book so we can comprehend the book, so when I actually start working with a sponsor, I can actually come up to them with some information of knowledge rather than just like a bunch of bumper sticker talk. And we also have a Thursday night meeting we just started. It's called Alcoholics and God. It's a step series meeting. Get a speaker who speaks for 3 months, takes us all through the 12 steps, getting really successful like that. Got some really good speakers. It's fun to have a Monday night where we talk about the mechanics and how the book works and how it's laid out. And then on Thursday nights, we got some dudes come in, and maybe some gals someday, come in and tell us how they put that into their lives and what it really looks like. So it's sort of like this well-rounded home group, and we got a bunch of guys in it. And I'm really proud to be a member of that. We've got some great support and good service. I got a sponsor. He's got a sponsor, and they've got sponsors all the way up to all the way. And I got sponsees, and I got some grand sponsees, and I'm blessed to have some great grand sponsees. And I say that not to, though look at me, I say that to, if you follow the directions outlined in this book, you can be successful in helping people discover God. The book was designed in such a way that it could be mailed to some guy who lives in the middle of nowhere. I like to say Indian Joe. He lives in Broken Town, New Mexico. This is a guy who wants to quit smoking. Or quit drinking. And smoking, too. He wants to quit. Yeah, thank God I quit smoking. So he has to go to AA to quit smoking. That would suck. This is a guy who wants to quit. He's been trying to quit. And back in, before we had the book, there was really no success. You went to detoxes, and you detox, in and out, and all these crazy ways of trying to quit, like vision boards and process groups and all that crazy stuff they did before we had AA. And somebody heard about this book, heard on a radio show or on a magazine or something like that, and they went and got this book for Indian Joe, And he opened up the book, and he turned to the first page of the book, and it was blank. That's everything he knows about recovery and Alcoholics Anonymous. Absolutely nothing, Turn to the first page, Alcoholics Anonymous. When I work with new guys today, I take to this page and I say, this is what you know about Alcoholics Anonymous, the name. Everything you think you know about the program that you think you know, let's just lay it aside, because how many rehabs you been in? How many white chips have you picked up? Obviously, you don't really know what's going on, so let's start from fresh in the book. So this guy, Indian Joe, he gets this book and he starts reading it by himself. He's reading everything, and he's processing. He does the steps as it's like, okay, Iron Range Bob, that's better. Lives in the North Woods of Minnesota. He's following the directions in the book. He's reading all by himself, right? And he has this thing called a psychic change as a result of a vital spiritual experience. It takes him from an uncontrollable, incapable person when it comes to alcohol to somebody who's sober, to somebody who has an opportunity to go out and help people. And, that's the amazing thing about this book. It's, before we had the book, you'd get sober in Cleveland, or, you go to meetings in New York, or and Dr. Bob would get you through the Oxford group and get you connected to God, And then you take that information back to St. Louis or Chicago and try to recreate what Dr. Bob had done so wonderfully for you in Acorn, or Akron. And what do they try to do? They try to recreate what Dr. Bob was so good at, but there was no specific directions. There was no do this next and do this next. They were just trying to remember from well, I think he did this, and then I remembered some of this, and then he scared me a little bit, and then he made me do this, and the success rate started to suck. You stuck around Dr. Bob or Bill W., you were doing pretty good, but once you leave the area, so the great thing about the book is it was able to leave those small little areas and take Alcoholics Anonymous, finally, Alcoholics Anonymous, to a broad range of people who want to get sober. So that's the cool thing about the book, is first time I had any, how do I say that? Well, first I'll get some free water. I wanted to quit drinking. I wanted to quit smoke, or I didn't smoke crack. I snorted cocaine. Alcoholics like to use drugs, and I use some drugs too. But alcohol was always my main thing. Once I started drinking, I couldn't stop drinking, and I couldn't not pick up. I started drinking socially at age 6. My mom used to have little dinner parties, and seriously, socially. So I get a DWI at age 6. And so I'm sitting, Mom would have these dinner parties, and they'd all leave the living room area and go to the other end of the house for dinner time. And they left all these little, they called them dead soldiers. And so those drinks, a couple ice cubes in it. They didn't want to finish it. You don't want to be seen walking back to it. So I'd sit down and I'd grab a little appetizer and sip on this and sip on that, And I just thought it was like Dean Martin or Fred Astaire or something. I just was the most amazing person, I thought. And I get a little tipsy and I go back into the dining room, start doing some little singing and dancing for the parents. And oh, he's so cute. I'd feel dizzy and go upstairs, put my foot on the bed and fall on the floor and fall asleep. That was fantastic for a lot of years, I had no problems. My dad died when I was 8, and I remember all these wonderful people coming to our family, because I was raised in this really loving Christian family. It was just this neighborhood, and the people was very loving. And my father passed away, and I remember the outpouring of love, which was something I always remember. But I was the kid in the neighborhood who always said the wrong thing at the wrong place, stole shit and got caught. I was always getting Snuggies and flushed down the toilet in my head, stuffed in the snowbanks. I was that kid that you didn't want your children hanging with, but they always thought I was the good one, but I was always still the troublemaker. So we were over at this people's house. I think they were truly the alcoholics of the neighborhood. And I hadn't gotten a Snuggie yet, or a swirly, they called those things, so I hadn't really screwed up enough. And we're sitting around deciding whose house we're going to egg, or, teepee, or do what we do, thugs. And, I know, white, upper-class, middle-class thug, yeah, hats on sideways, like that. No, we weren't that dumb back then. Sorry. But we're sitting around, and back in those days, they hadn't figured out you could put a dishwasher under the counter, so we had these stupid things that rolled around. And I remember I opened it up, and here's this bottle of vodka. Pop-Off or Smirnoff, some really high-quality stuff. And I picked it up, and I'm going, cool. And everybody just looked at me, and their jaws just like, and I know what they're thinking. Oh, he's not going to drink that. Oh, yes, I am. I've been drinking a few years now. 9 years old, right? Have you seen a 9-year-old? They look, oh, God, it was such a mess. So I take a pop off that thing. I was the king of the night. It's like I was so cool. I was slick. I didn't get a Snuggie. I didn't get a Swirly. I remember falling down the stairs, and I was just drinking and chugging. I had the best time of my life. It was all that fear and all that restlessness that I used to deal with. Because what it's like to live knowing that you get a Snuggie any minute now, or you get a Swirly every minute now. But that whole night was fun, and I was having this great time, And I stumbled home, and I threw up all over the back porch, and it was just the most amazing night of my life. And I wake up to hearing my mom whooping on my older brother. You're too young to be drinking. How you're smoking and smacking them. I'm just going, and I found that night I had a spiritual experience. I had God and I had Jesus loves me. Yes, I know stuff going on in the Bible study and all that cool stuff, but boy, this stuff was quick and efficient. You didn't have to listen to anybody. Just like, boom, and it hit me. So I continued to be sort of like the after-school special drunk kid, not really drinking at school, maybe after school. Got to high school. I became the official keg caterer. I was catering all the kegs, and that was really cool. I chose my college based on the fact that you could drink at 18, and like the Johnny Walker stuff is 45 cents a glass. It was like some small little town in the middle of Wisconsin. I was in heaven. I went to 3 classes that year in college. 3 classes, like 1 hour here and 3 hours grand total. It was a wake and bake university, and And after about a year, they said, please don't come back. And I said, why? And they said, because you weren't here anyways. And I had a free ride, but that sort of went away. Got a job as a bouncer in a biker bar. I know. And this is a real biker bar. I mean Harleys, and another scooter shit. This was like Harleys, and you know, he had cocaine, cowboy distributors, and I was just sort of like this little guy, like stuff like that. And I learned about really how to drink. You know, college are really wussies. Is that okay to say? When it comes to bikers, these guys know how to party. But I used to get really drunk and get really dizzy and throw up and fall down and pass out. And then I discovered they had this stuff called cocaine. If you put a little bit up your nose, you could like drink 2 or 3 hours more. And then put a couple more up. You know, the next thing it was like 2 or 3 days of continuous drinking. I just love that shit. I hated the cocaine because it made me go sketchy but I love the fact that I could drink 2 or 3, 4 days without stopping. And then I found out you could actually sell this stuff and not even have to have a real job. So I become this sort of quasi bartender occasionally. I was selling cocaine, but I was doing most of my own, so I was like a bad distributor. I was a great consumer. And then mom started getting worried about me because I was just didn't seem to have a job. I would lie about I'm working here, and they go to visit me at work. Hi, and he doesn't work here. It's like, busted. I always had money, so it was sort of weird. So they decided to buy me a house 2 blocks away from their house to fix up. Actually, just to watch me, and I'm doing this stuff, and I'm living there about a year-ish, maybe, and the water's gotten shut off. The gas is going to be shut off. They stopped picking up the garbage. The garage is filled with pizza boxes and 12-pack cases, and I'm thinking I'm living the life. But then again, I want to kill myself certain nights, and then there's nights I don't want to do this anymore. I remember I put rubber bands around my wrist, you know, that whole control thing. Remind myself, only 2 drinks tonight, you know. And I put like 10 little packages for sale and 2 little packages for personal use. And next thing you know, the 10 are for personal use, and I sold 10. And I got these guys chasing me around with baseball bats who are my friends, trying to get money out of me. I got a motorcycle repossessed by a drug dealer. I just sucked at distribution. I should have stayed at consumerism. But my mom came to me one day and said, you know, Mike Chase, we're going on a 3-month vacation to Europe, and we'd really appreciate it if you'd come and watch the house while we're gone. I took that as, well, move in, you know. So I took some of my good furniture, moved into their house, and they were in Europe. And on the way to taking them to the airport, she pulls out some checkbooks and says, you know, if there's an emergency, here's some money. You know, the water main breaks or something. Okay, cool. So I didn't think we had credit cards back then. I'm not sure. This was like 1980, long time ago, 1984, and I dropped him off at the airport and I immediately had my first emergency. Went and wrote a check. I was like, oh my God, money, this is so cool. Magic money. It's not mine, you know. 2 months into this, dude, I'm up to like a lot of $8,000. A lot of thousands of dollars, you know. The money wasn't mine. That was theirs. It should have been not mine. And I'm having kegger parties. I'm having wheelchair races around this enormous house they have. It was insane. And I was having so much fun. But then again, it's like, this has got to stop. I cannot go on like this. And it's like, I called cocaine hotline. What? Okay, I'll be on hold. Fuck this shit. Do a line and do it. Hung up on him, you know. I didn't know not how to stop, and I didn't know I had a problem. I just thought it was like out of control. I didn't understand. I remember hearing some stuff about Alcoholics Anonymous, and that was just sort of like scary. They took you away for 30 days, and you came back, and nobody wanted to hang out with you anymore. And that scared the shit out of me. I was like, imagine going to rehab in junior high. That would have sucked. My parents were really sort of oblivious, so I baked a long time, so I finally got taken to this Hazleton place. So I'm trying to quit. I can't quit. I want to stop. I want to kill myself. And look in the mirror, I kill myself. Because I always want to kill myself. Never could, because I'd have a drink phenomenon. Craving would kick in. And I'd say, screw killing myself. Let's have another drink and do another line. Really sucked at suicide and everything else. Good at drinking and cocaine. So my parents are coming back, and it's about a week before they come back, and I have $12,000 now. I'm like totally screwed. It's like, how am I going to explain this? Oops, where'd that $12,000 go? You know, it's like there was no excuse in it. Kill myself? Not going to happen. Could never do that. Move to California. I know, write a really big check and just go away and never come back. You know, it's like, we always have great ideas, right? That was a stupid ass idea. And then I said, oh shit, how about that AA stuff? I'll go to rehab. You know, go to detox. And I went there thinking, to get out of getting out of it. But there was this thing in the back of my mind that says, your life totally sucks. You know? you want to die most of the time. You're never really happy because you can't stop, and people stopped hanging out with you, and it's this freaking rat chase. I got 4 distributors, and I'm like ripping one off to pay off the other. My life was just miserable. And I thought, yeah. So I started drinking a couple more days. Forgot about that thing. So I was to pick them up at the airport at 8 o'clock on some day, and 11 o'clock I wake up to them looking down at me, going, "Where were you?" It's like, oh shit, I didn't pick them up at the airport. We're downstairs. It's like, uh-oh. So I go downstairs, and before they even open their mouth, the old, "I need help. I'm an addict alcoholic. I can't stop. And I stole a lot of money." And they're like, "Oh, we knew something was wrong with you. We'll get right on this." And about 10 minutes later, the phone out of the blue calls. And my mom's like this author. She writes brief books, and she's really good at that stuff. And it's this lady from Hazleton asking about one of my books. One of my mom's books, and she said, "Oh my God, my son just came out as an addict." It's like coming out gay, apparently. It just came out as an addict alcoholic, And can you help him? And they said, "Sure, bring him on in. We'll give him an interview, check him out or something like that." So I went and got interviewed. I'm 24 years old, right? They send me off to adolescent care unit. You got that? 24 years old, and I'm put into adolescent care unit. I'm really running all 4 cylinders there. It's a 12-cylinder car. And so I go to this Hazleton place, and they throw these pamphlets out at me and these packages, and I'm just like going out. I remember driving there. There's a horrible, gray, rainy day. I'm looking out the window thinking, what the fuck did I get myself into, Because I couldn't even quit drinking, waiting to get into this. It was 4 days late, and I still couldn't. I didn't know what I was getting into. I knew that I finally got, I didn't have to worry about the $12,000. That was taken care of. But now what had I got myself into? And we had some great food, and we did some psychobabble crap, and I didn't really understand all that stuff. They wanted me to do all these packets and brochure type stuff, and I said, I'm dyslexic and I really have a hard time spelling. And they said, "Oh, that's no problem. We're going to assign you some person who doesn't get paid for doing stuff, intern, to dictate your step work for you." I said, "Oh, what's step work?" And I remember I went to my first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. I'm sitting right where those guys were, and it was like the speaker meeting, apparently. You know how the first meeting is like, whoa, 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 whoa. But I remember seeing the steps, and I thought those are really cool. I pretty much finished them before the end of the meeting. You know how smart we are, right? And I had no problem with the God thing, but God had a problem with me. Every time I went to go kill myself, every time my life was apart, I would go to God for help to bless me and save me. There would be this stupid wooden door in my mind. I closed my eyes and I imagined what God would be like, and there's a stupid wooden door. It wasn't even nice. It was this crappy old wooden door with this beautiful glowing light on the other side, which represented God. And I was this low-life piece of shit, just sitting on the other side of the door, and I couldn't get in the door. God, please help me. I need some help. Get me out of this one. And I just could never get through that door because I was so unworthy. So I'm in Hazleton. They got me doing this pack of crap. And I went to my first AA meeting. I remember them saying about, ask God, to relieve you of your alcoholism. Ask God to help you. I'm thinking, oh, that's going to work because he's never talked to me in the past. So we go to bed, and I'm in my room with like a bunch of, there's like 8 other 14, 15, 16-year-olds. I'm 24 years old, For bed checks, they don't like moon the nurse. It was like really adult of them. So I'm in my bed, and I go, I need help. So I get up on my knees, and they look at me like, what are you, shut up. And in my mind's eye, I see God behind the door still. It's like, shit, It's like, God, please, I need help. I can't live like this. I'm serious. And this is sincerity. God, I need help. And I pushed on the door one more time, and it was like, still wouldn't open. And then I hear this, pull on the door. White light, just release, amazing. It was just like, who did acid? Better than acid. It was just like, oh. And I used to be this really annoying, cocky person, and I woke up that morning, I'm Captain Recovery. I'm helpful, I'm kind, I'm considerate, I'm just, oh, how are you doing? All this concern for other people. Because I used to be the most self-centered, inconsiderate, self-serving, backstabbing person you could ever hang out with. And this time was wonderful and sweet, And they're like, what did he take? He's obviously on something. They're having this process group trying to figure out what Mike Chase did, and it's like, I don't know. I just have God. I think it's just so annoying. But I was so happy. I was so connected. For the first time, I was walking hand in hand with God again. I didn't do anything to get it other than ask. That whole grace period, and I got it. And I continued doing that Hazleton Patrick crap. I didn't have the faintest idea what they're doing. They made me do a fist up with some hillbilly who just freaked out. He found out he was gay, and he said, oh, well, I used to have sex with pigs when I drink, And it's like, well, why would you tell me that? Well, it makes you more comfortable to talk about your stuff. It's like, no, it didn't. You're weird. Note to self: if you're ever doing a fifth step with somebody, qualify them as an addict alcoholic, because these therapists don't know what they're doing when it comes if they're not an addict alcoholic. So he tells me after my fifth step, don't do that shit anymore. And it's like, okay, you know, and he says, rent's this much, you can turn curfew, and then I sort of went on to this, you know. And I ended up having to move down to Florida because I was the big drug dealer, and everywhere I went, it's like, psst, get me some coke. It's like, dude, I was in rehab, you know. I know, but you still sell it, don't you? It's like, no. Can you get me some? No. So I ended up moving down to Florida. Got really involved in Lambda, which is this amazing opportunity for me to like get into fellowship recovery, because you know I had this little knobby, short little guy, bald haired, knobby little fingers, who was my sponsor, who knew everybody, but he kept annoying me to go do the step work out of the book. It's like, Joe, white light guy, certificate of completion from Hazelton. You know, I'm fine. You guys, I thought AA was sort of like for those people. I got sober in Hazelton. I got God on my shoulder. And for about a year and a half, my life was amazing. I was connected to God. It was amazing. And then I began to get a little selfish, self-centered, and inconsiderate. Started stealing a little bit, lying a little bit, cheating a little bit, steal a little bit more, lie a little bit more. You know, next thing you know, I'm like, about 2 years in recovery, I'm going on sex sprees, spending sprees, travel sprees, gym sprees. Believe me, I used to be like really cool ones. And ripped. This thing used to be ripped. This is years ago. And I was a meat-making fool, you know. And my idea of Alcoholics Anonymous was if I didn't drink, it was a successful day. If I didn't get caught and I didn't drink, it was even more of a successful day, you know. But when I put my head down the pillow at night, it was like, it just wasn't there. I'd lost and that went on for 13 and a half more years. 15 years sobriety, I'm going to kill myself. You know, I'd gone to my last meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous in Minneapolis, and I walked into a room, and I feel sorry for a friend visiting from L.A., because I sat down in the room of Alcoholics Anonymous, and all these people, they'd never seen me before, right? I'm the first person in the room. Nobody came to say hi to me. Nobody introduced themselves, and I apologize for that tonight. And I'm thinking, this AA stuff sucks, you know? I know now I should like raise my hands. Hi, I'm going to kill myself, and I'm really unhappy, and I need help. But somebody bring me through the steps. We don't do that shit, do we? We're going to kill ourselves. So I decided I'm going to kill myself, and then I met somebody, and I decided to kill myself, and I was at a bar going for a cup of coffee with the person who was going to drink, and they said, "You want a beer?" I said, "No, I don't drink. You know, I've never had an Amstel dry roasted beer flavored chug chug chug." For 15 years, my sobriety. Well, 1.5 years is amazing. 2 years is pretty good. And then for the past 12 years, it just sucked. You know, meeting makers, service. Oh, that's really good. Keeps you busy. But I was miserable. I had lost my connection to God. And I was going to kill myself. I had the hotel room planned out. I had some Seconal pills left over from somebody I know who died. And I had that drink, and I had a spiritual experience. And the thought of killing myself once went away. And I went on a 6-year binge, and it was miserable. I ended up trying to kill myself a couple of times. My roommate, for some reason, thought drinking every day and not going to work for 5 days in a row wasn't really healthy. So he calls my parents, and they try to do this intervention shit on me. And my boss comes to me and says, "You know, we're doing an intervention on you this Friday, so get your shit together." Oh, crap, I don't want to get sober. So I call my mom, and I say, "Mom, guess what? I'm drinking and drugging again, but I'm going back to AA. Everything's going to be fine." Okay, bye, click goodbye. Oh, good. No, the intervention went out the window. And somebody in the office who's an alcoholic said, "Oh, I'll take you to that meeting tonight, Mike Chase." And it's like, "Oh, you heard that? Okay, great." So I went to a meeting. I sat down. It's nice to be back. Everybody's so friendly, you know. I got this book with all these phone numbers, you know, and I went and picked up my magic white chip afterwards, and all these people talk to me. You don't have to drink, Mike Chase, even if you want to. You know, if you don't drink between meetings, you're not going to get drunk. If you feel like getting drunk, call me. I'm going, "This is great information. I love it. I'm back." And I get my car, and I'm driving away, all of a sudden the phone rings. Like, "Oh, yeah, be right over." Boom. Cheating in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous, coming late, leaving early. You know how it is. We pretend we're sober, but we're not really sober. A year later, I end up in the psych ward. Not a good place to end up when you don't want people to know you're drinking. Detox psych ward, 5 days there, come crawling back to Alcoholics Anonymous. Picked up another white chip and was told the exact same stuff. Given the magic white chip, I put it in my mouth and it dissolved. I can drink. Woohoo! You know? Don't drink between meetings, 90 and 90. Oh, that middle of the road stuff, that doesn't work because I'm a real alcoholic. So I'm sneaking out and getting drunk. For me, the experiment of not getting caught. You know, if I could drink some weekend and not get caught, it was successful. But I'm an alcoholic, so every time I drink, I get out of control and just drink myself to death. So about 6-9 months of this in and out. By the way, I'm the general service rep. My second week in Alcoholics Anonymous, they turned me into general service, right? Because I had 15 years before him. He knows what to do. He'll snap right back. I didn't, Service is going to keep you sober. Unless a hurricane comes through town, there's nothing to do service for it, and chug, sneaking out of town, getting drunk. Picking up more white chips than I want to talk about, And I should have picked up more, but my sponsor once told me, grant sponsor, used to come up to me, right up to my face and go, "That honesty's a bitch, ain't it, Mike Chase?" So I go like, "Oh, shit, white chip." And then my sponsor would walk in and I go, "I can't pick it up tonight. He'll get mad, so I'll do it tomorrow night." Totally messed up. And my last run, somebody calls me, and I pick up the phone, and it's like, "Hello?" And I'm just shit-faced. "You're drinking." "No, I'm not. New psych meds are not balanced yet." And he's like, "No." Next thing you know, my sponsor's on the phone. My grand sponsor's on the phone. Everybody's calling. I know the AA SWAT team's going to be jumping through the window any morning. So I'm snorting all my stuff, chugging it, because I know they're going to ruin my thing. Nobody showed up. I just... And I woke up Monday morning, and I knew I was going to drink myself to the end of time. I wasn't going to stop. Everything wasn't going to work. 90 and 90 wasn't going to work for me. Service wasn't going to keep me sober. "Mike Chase, you're an alcoholic, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm screwed." So I went to that Monday meeting, next day Monday meeting, and halfway through the meeting, I just stood up, and I started doing F-bombs all over. Like, "You effing tell me if I don't drink for meetings, you won't get drunk." Well, guess what? I keep drinking. And these people are just in shock. "Oh, my God, he's talking like this." And I'm having this history. 90 and 90, what the fuck does that do? And they're just like, "Oh, here comes till the miracle happens." Fuck, that miracle's never going to happen, and I'm just freaking out. And there's this another bald, knobby guy in the back with little knobby fingers. Like, "Mike Chase, I'll bring you through the book." "Yeah, but..." not the book. "Well, let's see, 90-90 doesn't work. Put the plug in the jug, didn't work. I like bend the needle. That's a new one, right? Just bend the needle and you won't drink the juice anymore." That's great, All this. By the way, that stuff's great if you're not an alcoholic. See, we get some real addicts and alcoholics in AA nowadays, And everybody relapses on 90-90 and Meaty Makers Make It. We're treating non-alcoholism. You want to get the solution for alcoholism, it's in the book. Starts on page 0. And he started reading the book with me from page 0. I found out what it was to be an alcoholic. I sort of read the big book for 15 years. But I was a 12 and 12er. I could talk what the steps were, what they meant, what was behind them. I could pontificate on the steps. But I never did the steps because I never bothered to look in the book that tells you how to do them. So this guy's got me reading the book. I read the doctor's opinion. I'm getting, "Oh my God, I'm alcoholic." I'm serious, I'm alcoholic. And he's like, "Yeah, I know." It's like, "No, I'm alcoholic. I'm really one of these guys, I had never really known. I had that white light experience crap in Hazleton that was treating non-alcoholics disguised as alcoholic shit. And I find out what it is to be an alcoholic, the phenomena of craving, the mental insanity, touched with a spiritual malady, And he brought me through Bill's story. I'm reading Bill's story. He's like, "That's me. I can relate, I'm saying, how come nobody ever told me this stuff before, Because I was too busy doing service or something, So he's bringing me through the book, and we get through the steps. He gets me to a point when I'm going to fourth. So you remember that? "Oh, the fourth step. That's really scary. Don't want to do that thing. Avoid that, And I couldn't wait to do it. Because I'm finding out that my life is screwed. And I'm reading through the book, and I'm getting excited. This guy's bringing the book of Alcoholics Anonymous alive to me, And I'm reading the book, and I get to my fourth step, and it's the first time I honestly wrote down who I was. Screw the dyslexia. I was going to read it, I find out. And I have this fourth step, and then I go into this fifth step with this guy who was an alcoholic who could relate to me. That was like pointing out to, you're self-serving, you're procrastinating, you're self-centered, egotistical, self-righteous little fart, And he laid me on the table, and I was just like, "Dude, that's me." I had never thought that was me. And then I did a quick 6 and 7 right then and there, an hour later, on my knees begging God, say, "God, this is what I am." My character defects have become so wrapped around me, they're like ivy on a brick building, 6 and 7 is pretty much rape, takes those character defects and sticks them over here. I can go use them if I have to, but the problem with me is my character defects became so instantaneous, I didn't even think about them. I was just this walking continuous character defect. So he ripped those things apart, and it's like, wow, I have to think about stealing now instead of just, "Hey, that's a really nice outfit. I like it." Just I would actually have to go out of my comfort zone, and since I have a relationship with God, because everything that's blocking me from God in 4 and 5 is gone, so it's like, "Oh, I shouldn't steal." I just had this feeling called God consciousness. Oh shit, I better hurry. So 8 and 9. So I'm cool with God. 4, 5, 6, and 7. It clears me up with God. The one who's going to show me how to live. Turn my will, which is my thinking, and my life, which is my actions, over the care of God. What does that mean? Stop being a do-do-do. Stop screwing people over, right? Stop thinking like a creep. Stop acting like a creep. What's so hard about that? Well, that scares me, turning my will and life. I say, no. Do you want to be a do-do-do for the rest of your life? So I'm walking with God, and now I'm putting my 6 and 7 into action in steps 8 and 9. I'm going up to people I had ripped off, who I owed money from, who I'd screwed over, who I'd backstabbed, I'd done things. And I'm sitting down and having conversations with them. See, the reason they put me in adolescent caregiving, because I had no maturity left. I never did anything to become an adult. Anytime it was a